Discover the incredible love story. She saved a CEO's hidden secret, a life-changing reunion. Annie glanced outside as raindrops relentlessly hammered against the diner's windows. Her heart sank at the sight of the storm. Tonight wasn't going to be easy. She pushed back a strand of damp hair, the weight of her double shifts pressing down like the clouds outside. As she zipped around tables, serving steaming cups of coffee and warm plates of comfort food, the hum of laughter reminded her of what she longed to recreate at home for her little brother, Ben. The door swung open suddenly, and in walked Mark, a polished CEO cloaked in a dark suit that felt miles away from the warmth of the diner. His stern expression contrasted sharply with the revelry surrounding him. Annie felt the curious stares of her regulars shoot toward the man who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. She approached his table, her smile unwavering, even as butterflies fluttered in her stomach. "What can I get started for you?" "Just a coffee, please," he mumbled, eyes scanning the room as if searching for something, perhaps redemption or escape. She poured the hot liquid and watched as he stirred in cream and sugar, lost in thought. Little did she know, Mark's detachment hid a guilty past intertwined with her own. So much had changed since her father died. Being both mother and father to Ben was exhausting but necessary. The weight of bills loomed over her like storm clouds, and yet, she held on to dreams of a brighter future. The warmth of the diner was a stark contrast to their cold, empty house where laughter seemed a distant memory and stress was a constant visitor. As the night wore on, Mark returned night after night, sharing brief conversations and an elusive connection that sparked feelings she hadn't felt in ages. For her, he was just a man in a suit, but to him, she was a beacon in a world filled with shadows. When they spoke, an unexplainable chemistry crackled between them. Could he see her dreams beyond the waitress apron she wore? Then, one rainy evening, a friend from the diner slipped Annie an envelope. As she opened it, her hands trembled. Inside were documents revealing Mark's company manipulated her father's legacy, keeping veteran benefits that could have helped her family thrive. A rush of anger mixed with disbelief coursed through her veins. Mark, the kind man hidden behind those corporate walls, might just be at the center of her suffering. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, a memory came rushing back, a childhood reunion of laughter, park swings, and the promise from a boy named Mark, who had vowed to always be by her side. Could this suave stranger be the same boy she once adored? How had their lives diverged so drastically? A storm of emotions fluttered in her chest, betrayal, but also the flicker of hope. Should she confront him? Could their relationship develop beyond guilt and hatred? As the rain lashed against the diner like a drumroll to truth, Annie teetered on the precipice of decision. Would love prevail, or would she choose justice to protect her family? Annie's hands tightened around the edge of the table as she watched Mark across the diner. He was laughing with a couple at the counter, the sound of his joy echoing in stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside her. She could feel the documents burning a hole in her pocket, a tangible reminder of the battle she was fighting in her mind. Could she really confront him? Could love still exist where betrayal dangled overhead like a sword? As she moved to collect another order, she noticed the way his brow furrowed when he caught her gaze. Did he know? Did he sense the storm brewing inside her? The connection they had formed, those tiny moments of laughter and shared stories, felt as fragile as sugar glass. She couldn't waste another moment. Deep down, she knew she needed to understand the man behind the suit, the man who once could have been her childhood friend. "Mark," she called, her voice firmer than she felt. He looked over, the playful smile fading slightly. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" He nodded, setting aside his empty coffee cup and standing as he made his way toward her. Her heart pounded like a drum, drowning out the diner's cheerful ambience. She gestured toward a quieter table in the corner, away from prying eyes and listening ears. Once seated, the silence stretched out between them like an awkward pause in a barely remembered song. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his gaze steady on her. "I got something today," she began, her voice scarcely above a whisper as she reached into her pocket, pulling out the documents. His eyes widened, and his smile dissipated completely. "Annie, just let me finish," she interrupted, heart racing. "These papers, they say that your company, my father's legacy, is what held back our benefits. What you did, or what your company did, it hurt us. It left me and my brother struggling when it should have been easier. And I want to know why." Mark ran a hand through his hair, his expression shifting from surprise to something else. Was it remorse? Or guilt? "I didn't know," he said, his voice low and troubled. "That's not what we wanted." He paused, collecting his thoughts, searching for words that could possibly bridge the gulf between them. "My company has been going through changes. It was never meant to impact individuals like your family." "But it did," she insisted, the anger mounting like thunder. "Your company benefited at the expense of people like us. And you sit here and pretend like it doesn't matter." A flicker of pain crossed his features, and she could see that her words were hitting home. "I'm not pretending," he replied, voice stronger now. "I didn't know your father. I wish I had. I respect veterans like him, and I want to make this right. I'll figure out a way to help you and Ben." The sincerity in his voice shocked her. Annie had spent so much time building walls, she hadn't expected him to offer help. Not yet. She studied his face, searching for a hint of deception but finding only a man who seemed genuinely distressed. Maybe she had misjudged him, or maybe he had changed more than she had realized. "I don't know if I can trust you," she said slowly. "But maybe you could help. For my father." "Just say the word," he replied, leaning forward, earnestness etched in every crease of his brow. "I'll do whatever it takes." As hope began to flicker in the depths of her heart, doubts also crept in. Could a connection like what they had ever move from the ashes of betrayal to something profound? The clouds outside were still swirling, blurring the line between thunder and silence, much like her own heart. Annie's fingers brushed against the papers again, realization dawning this was just the beginning. She had to decide if she could forgive and if forgiveness could lead them down a new path together. "Then we need to talk," she finally said, determination rekindled in her chest. "But there's so much more to discuss." Mark nodded, ready for the next chapter. "I'm here for it," he promised. And as they sat there, the storm roared outside, but for the first time, Annie felt a slight shift in the air, a promise that what was broken might somehow be rebuilt. Would they find common ground, love amid betrayal, or would secrets continue to tear them apart? Annie leaned back in her chair, her heart still racing from their conversation. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. But how? Was she really ready to open up old wounds, to sift through the pain her family had endured? The more she looked at Mark, the less certain she felt. Was he the boy she remembered from their childhood, sharing peanut butter sandwiches under the big oak tree, or the man who had hurt her so deeply? She couldn't afford to let nostalgia cloud her judgment now. "What do we start with?" she asked, breaking the tense silence. Mark took a moment, his brow furrowing in thought. "We should look at your father's case. I want to understand the details more clearly." The sincerity in his voice made her stomach twist. Annie hesitated, then nodded. "The paperwork, it mentions something about profit margins and cuts made after the company's acquisition. There's a lot that doesn't add up. Let me help you find the financial advisor who managed that," he offered. "I can pull strings. I really want to make this right, Annie." She searched his eyes for any sign of manipulation, but all she saw was a man desperately trying to justify his existence in the world that had been shaped by decisions that had nothing to do with her father. But she wondered, could he be trusted? Could his intentions overcome the betrayal that lingered in her mind? "Are you sure?" Annie asked, uncertainty lacing her voice. "What are you gaining from this?" "Honestly, a chance to do better," he confessed, leaning closer. "I made mistakes, and I don't want to ignore them anymore. I want to be held accountable, not just to you, but to everyone I've affected." She folded her arms, absorbing this vulnerability. It was selfish, but a small part of her wanted him to fight for her, fight for them, even though trust had been a casualty of war. "And if I say yes, what does that mean for us?" His expression shifted, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. It means we figure this out together. It means I'll be there for you, however you need me to be. But we can take it step by step. A small part of her wanted to push back, to maintain distance, but their connection pulled at her, demanding a response. Did she really want to walk away from what could be something meaningful? Okay, she finally said, her voice steadying. Let us see what we can uncover. As she made the decision, a surge of resolve coursed through her. Perhaps, through understanding, they could heal. Perhaps, even in the face of betrayal, a thread of hope could weave a new beginning. Let us meet tomorrow, Mark said, a glimmer of hope lighting up his eyes. I'll gather everything I can for you. We'll figure this out. Annie nodded, a mix of apprehension and excitement bubbling in her chest. As they stood up to leave, Mark reached for her hand. She hesitated but then let him take it, feeling an electric pulse between them. It felt good, familiar, even as the shadows of doubt loomed in her mind. Tomorrow, then, she whispered, squeezing his hand before letting go. As she stepped outside, the rain was beginning to lighten, reflecting her own feelings, a shift from despair to cautious optimism. The air smelled fresh, and the storm had given way to patches of blue sky. But with each step toward her car, a question gnawed at her. Would uncovering the past grant them redemption, or would it only serve to deepen the divide between them? Annie glanced back at the diner, where Mark stood watching her, his face a mixture of hope and uncertainty. The answer would have to come soon. Tomorrow was going to change everything, but would it lead them toward closure or even deeper complications? The next morning dawned with a warmth that Annie hadn't expected. The sun pierced through her curtains, casting long, golden beams that danced across her bedroom floor. She lay still for a moment, wrapped in the blanket of dawn-esque light, replaying the events of last night. Mark's voice echoed in her mind. We'll figure this out together. The thought made her heart flutter. A jolt of nervous energy shot through her. What would today hold? As she moved through her morning routine, she felt the weight of anticipation resting heavily on her shoulders. The questions swirling in her head intensified with every action. Would she find answers? Would those answers heal her heart, or would they expose wounds that had barely begun to scab over? After a quick breakfast, she grabbed her jacket and headed out, her pulse racing as she walked to her car. The air held a crispness that hinted at autumn, a reminder that change was in the air both outside and within her. Arriving at the cafe where they agreed to meet, Annie's hands trembled slightly as she pushed the door open. The soft chime of the bell overhead felt like a signal of new beginnings. Mark was already there, seated at a table by the window, a stack of papers spread out in front of him. He looked up and a smile broke across his face, lighting up his features. Hey, you made it, he exclaimed, rising to greet her. Of course, Annie replied, trying to match his enthusiasm, yet her heart still danced with apprehension. He motioned for her to sit. I took a look at the documents and spoke with the financial advisor. We have so much to go over, but I think we're on the right track. Annie's curiosity piqued. What did you find? Mark unfolded the papers, a host of numbers and figures spilling forth that seemed to symbolize the complexities they were diving into. There are discrepancies in the profit margins that your father's company claimed before the acquisition. It just doesn't fit. Someone manipulated the numbers. Her breath caught in her throat. So, it wasn't just a simple case of mismanagement. He shook his head, determination brimming in his gaze. No. This looks deliberate. Your father might have been a victim of corporate greed. For a moment, the weight of their task hung between them, heavy yet somehow liberating. Annie felt her heart race as if the truth were a flickering flame in the pit of her stomach, a mix of anger and relief. Can we confront them? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the realization dawning on her. Can we really turn this around? Mark leaned in closer, his face earnest. We can. But I need you to be ready. This won't be easy. Some people won't take kindly to us digging deeper. And you're willing to stand by me, even if it gets ugly? He took her hands in his, grounding her. I've made my share of mistakes, Annie. I can't turn away now. Not when this is about you, your family, and what they've lost. As they shared this moment, Annie felt an unexpected warmth spread through her, thawing the icy doubts that had clung to her heart. Maybe, just maybe, they could blend trust with determination and bring justice to her father's memory. "Let us do it," she said, her voice firmer now, filled with conviction. "Let us find out the truth." Mark flashed her a look that filled her with both hope and fear. "I'm glad you're on board. We better prepare. This could open a Pandora's box." Together, they set about forming a plan, the cafe buzzing around them as they spoke, oblivious to the world outside. As they unraveled the first layer of the mystery, the atmosphere thickened with potential, yet, as Annie scribbled down notes, a nagging doubt gnawed at her. Despite the newfound momentum, she couldn't shake the feeling that there were pieces of the puzzle still missing. Who was hiding the truth? Who truly wanted to keep her father's legacy buried? As she looked up, she caught Mark watching her closely, his expression shadowed by a mix of concern and admiration. "Are we really ready for this?" His voice was soft, the question hung in the air, resonating deep within her. She had made her choice, but the road ahead was still foggy and uncertain. Could they face the truth, no matter what it revealed? This journey, she realized, was just beginning, and the stakes had never felt higher. Annie sat back in her chair, her heart pounding as she stared at the documents spread out before her. The words blurred together as anxiety took hold. Despite Mark's unwavering strength beside her, doubts crowded her mind. Could they really unearth the truth? A glance outside the window revealed the world continuing as usual, people bustling about their lives, completely unaware that, for her, everything was about to change. "Annie, take a breath," Mark said gently, noticing her distress. "We're in this together, remember? One step at a time." She nodded, drawing in a shaky breath, grounding herself in his presence. "Okay, let us outline our next moves." As they began drafting a plan, the cafe filled with the comforting sense of brewing coffee and baked goods. Yet, the warmth of those familiar smells couldn't chase away the chill of uncertainty lingering between them. Rows of numbers and projections swam in her mind, alongside images of her father, his laughter echoing in her ears. This mission was no longer just about reclaiming a legacy, it was about honoring his memory. Mark pushed a paper toward her, tapping on a highlighted section. "This is where things get tricky. We need to approach the board members discreetly. They could hold the key to our next move, but they also might be the very people we have to watch out for." Annie's stomach churned. "Do you think they knew about the manipulation?" "It's possible," he admitted. "If they were involved, it could get murky fast." Silence hung between them, pregnant with possibilities. The distance they had traveled in such a short time felt surreal. She glanced into Mark's deep blue eyes and saw the unwavering resolve there. "Whatever happens, I won't let fear hold me back." "Not now." "Good," he replied, squeezing her hand. "Fear can be a powerful adversary, but facing it together makes us stronger." Annie smiled, her spirit bolstered by his words. A wave of gratitude washed over her for this unexpected partnership. As they finalized their outline, every point felt like another tiny step toward justice, a justice that would restore her father's name. "I need to talk to Jonathan," she said, her voice steady. "He was with my dad before he passed. He might know more about the company's inner workings." "Do you think he'll cooperate?" Mark asked, raising an eyebrow. Annie considered. "He might, especially if I remind him of how my dad trusted him. But I also can't shake off the feeling he may be keeping something to himself." Mark nodded thoughtfully. "It's worth a shot. Just approach it from a place of genuine concern. After all, you want to uncover the truth, not point fingers." Determined, Annie picked up her coffee, the heat seeping into her palms. "You're right. Jonathan cared about my dad. With a little luck, he could help connect some dots." The plan now took on a life of its own, and with each new strategy, hope flickered stronger. Yet, an unexpected knot tightened in her chest. She had to remind herself that the truth could cut both ways. Just as she might find justice, she could also uncover painful revelations, secrets that might forever change how she viewed her father. They left the cafe, stepping into the cool air of autumn that wrapped around them like a taut embrace, a reminder that every season, no matter how beautiful, has its share of storms. As they walked, Annie felt something shift within her. It was a growing courage paired with an undeniable fear of what lay ahead. "I'll call Jonathan tonight," she vowed, her voice resolute. Mark nodded, a mix of support and concern in his eyes. "And we'll figure this out together." The confidence in his words propelled her forward, but a lingering unease whispered that their path might unfold darker than anticipated. Just as they reached the end of the block, a text lit up on Annie's phone. It was an unknown number. "Annie, do you really want to know the truth?" The message sent a shiver down her spine, as if the air itself had turned electric. She stared at the screen, uncertainty flooding her heart and mind. What truth? Who was reaching out to her? Annie stood frozen on the sidewalk, the cool autumn air brushing against her cheeks. The words on her phone haunted her. Who was this? What could they possibly know? A sense of urgency pulled at her. She needed answers. "Annie, you all right?" Mark's voice broke through her thoughts. His brow furrowed in concern, eyes scanning her face for signs of distress. She turned the phone toward him. "Look at this." Mark's breath caught as he read the message. "Do you recognize the number?" "No, but it feels ominous," she admitted, her throat tight. "What if it's someone trying to scare us off? Or someone who genuinely wants to help you," he suggested, trying to balance her rising anxiety. "Help? Or manipulate?" She shook her head, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I can't keep wondering. I need to find out. Then you should respond." Mark's eyes were steady, encouraging her to act. "But be careful. Don't reveal too much." Taking a deep breath, Annie quickly typed her reply, her fingers trembling. "Who are you? What do you know?" She pressed send, her heart racing. A weight settled in her chest, the uncertainty swirling around her like fog. They continued walking, each step punctuated by the silence of their surroundings. Her thoughts shifted to Jonathan. Was he a part of this? Would he have answers or more questions? And was he the one who might have contacted her? Anxiety gnawed at her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. The message was back, just 2 words danced across the screen. "Meet me." "Okay, now it's getting creepy," Mark said, glancing over her shoulder. "What does it say?" She didn't want to feel anyone else's alarm, but it was true, things were escalating. "It just says to meet them. No details." Just her voice wavered. "Meet me. Annie, you don't have to do this. We can figure out the board members without this unknown contact," he urged, his tone shifting to a protective one. She stopped walking, turning to face him. His concern shone in his eyes, but determination pushed back against her fear. "But what if this is the lead we need? What if this person holds the key to uncovering the truth about my father?" Mark sighed deeply, weighing the gravity of her words. "Okay, but we have to be smart. If you decide to meet them, don't go alone. Wait for backup." The thought of facing this stranger sent chills down her spine, yet excitement pulsed through her. "You're right. Let us call Jonathan and see if he can join. Also, what if you let him know about the message?" Mark suggested. "It could be a risk, but he might know something." "Yeah," she replied nervously, lifting her phone again to dial Jonathan's number. Her heart hammered in her chest as she listened to the ringing. Would he be willing to help, or would this only complicate things further? The line clicked, and Jonathan's voice came through. "Annie, is everything okay?" "Jonathan, I need your help," she said, steadying her breath. "Can we meet? There's something crucial we need to discuss." "Of course," he replied, a hint of concern creeping into his tone. "I'll be there in 10. After hanging up, the gravity of what lay ahead settled heavy on her shoulders. Would Jonathan be able to help her piece together the puzzle surrounding her father's legacy? And what would she ultimately discover from this mysterious contact? With her heart racing and the shadows of doubt chasing her, Annie looked at Mark. "I just hope I'm ready for whatever happens next." "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he affirmed, his hand finding hers. She squeezed his hand tight, feeling strengthened by his support as they continued on their journey. But as they walked, the air thick with anticipation, Annie couldn't shake the feeling that they were drawing nearer to a truth that might change everything for better or worse. As they approached their meeting place, a sense of foreboding chilled the back of her neck. She couldn't shake the notion that the answers they sought might reveal a truth that, once uncovered, could unravel everything she thought she knew. With Jonathan's arrival imminent and the unknown ahead, Annie took a steadying breath. Would she be ready to confront the shadows of her father's past? The moment of revelation was just a heartbeat away. Annie's palms felt clammy as she and Mark approached the small cafe where they agreed to meet Jonathan. She glanced around, searching for something familiar amidst the unfamiliar tension that hung in the air. The cafe's warm yellow lights bathed the street, but it felt cold to her. "Are you sure about this?" Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She stopped and took a deep breath, a mixed bag of emotions swirling inside her. "I need to know," she whispered back, her resolve hardening in her chest. Annie noticed Mark's worry etched across his face, but they had come too far to turn back now. As they stepped inside, the smell of coffee and freshly baked pastries wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. But even that warmth couldn't erase the cold weight knotting her stomach. Annie didn't have to wait long. Jonathan arrived, his anxious demeanor immediately evident. "Annie," he called, a hint of urgency in his tone. He rushed over, concern painting his features. "What's going on? You sounded intense on the phone." Annie gestured for him to sit, then quickly recounted the strange message from the unknown number. With each word, she could feel the weight of her father's legacy pressing against her chest, closing the gap on all her doubts. "I need to understand what this could mean," she concluded, looking from Mark to Jonathan, both of whom stared at her intently. Jonathan leaned back slightly, his brow furrowing, deep in thought. "Have you tried searching the number? It could lead us to someone connected to your father," or Mark interjected, "or it could lead you into something dangerous." Jonathan nodded in agreement, but Annie could see he was also intrigued. "But if this person has information, it could be worth the risk." Tension hung in the air as they weighed their options, and Annie felt the heartbeat of uncertainty pulse through her. She pulled out her phone and stared at it for a long moment before typing the next message. "Where and when?" she sent, putting her trust in this stranger. As she stared at the screen, waiting for a response, Jonathan broke the silence. "What if this person knows something significant about your father? What if he had secrets?" Her heart raced again. "But what if they're secrets I'm not ready for? Then you have to decide how much of the past you want to uncover," Jonathan replied gently. Just then, Annie's phone buzzed, a jolt running through her. She read the message. "Meet at the old mill. 1 hour." "Annie, that's not exactly a public place," Mark said, his earlier protective tone sharpening. "Yeah," she breathed, the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. "But if I don't go, I might be turning my back on the truth." Jonathan reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining. "I'll go with you. We both will." His voice was steady, holding her gaze with a fierce determination that wrapped around her like a lifeline. Annie took a moment, the gravity of their decision settling in. "Okay, let us do it. But we stick together, no one gets left behind." Mark squeezed her hand, and she felt a glimmer of hope emerge from her anxiety. They were not alone in this. But still, deep down, the idea of what awaited them at the mill ignited an unsettling fire in her gut. As they made their way outside, the cool breeze seemed to echo her anxiety. Standing together, they forged a path toward a truth wrapped in shadows. Annie felt fear and excitement intertwined. Was she ready to face whatever revelation awaited her? With each step toward the mill, the question loomed large in her mind: what if this meeting changed everything she thought was real? And as dusk began to settle over the town, the old mill loomed in the fading light, a silent witness to the secrets it held. What if this was the moment that cracked the facade of her father's past wide open? The walk to the old mill felt like a lifetime, each step weighed down by the burden of the unknown. The path was dimly lit, the light slowly fading around them. Shadows danced on the ground as they moved, their breaths visible in the chilling evening air. Annie's heart pounded. What if this is a mistake? She thought. What if the person waiting for them held more than just answers? What if they had hidden truths, dangerous truths that could shatter everything she believed? Jonathan's hand clasped hers tighter, reassuring despite the weight of dread that settled over them. "Just focus on the answers," he whispered, breaking through her spiraling thoughts. Mark walked ahead, scanning their surroundings as they approached the derelict structure. He was the first to reach the entrance, pushing the door open with a creak that echoed through the empty interior. The scent of damp wood and old machinery hit them, a reminder of the time long past that the mill once thrived. "Stay close," Mark cautioned as they stepped inside. The dim light from the setting sun filtered through the broken windows, casting eerie shadows across the floor. "Do you think we're too late?" Annie's voice trembled, the edge of anxiety sharpening every word. "No," Jonathan replied, his voice steady. "We're right on time. Whoever this is, they're expecting us." Her phone buzzed again, sending a shockwave through her. Annie quickly checked the screen, her heart racing at the expectation of the unknown. It was a new message, inside. "Wait for me. Who's that from?" Mark asked, his eyes narrowed in concern. "It's from the same number," she said breathlessly, her finger hovering over the screen. Could this person truly hold the key to all her father's secrets? Hope warred with apprehension, every instinct told her to turn back. But there was no turning back now. She couldn't run from this. The truth was calling her, and she needed to answer. "Let us find a place to hide, we may need to observe for a moment," Mark suggested as they moved to the shadows beside some rusty old equipment. There, bent low, they waited. Each second felt like an eternity. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, the sound of their breathing filled the quiet, the only evidence of their presence. Finally, the heavy door creaked open and in stepped a figure cloaked in shadow. Tall and imposing, he paused, scanning the room intently before stepping into the dim light. Annie could barely make out his features, but there was something about the way he carried himself. "Annie," he called, his voice low but firm. "I've been waiting for you." Her stomach knotted. How did he know her name? The way he said it held a weight that sent shivers down her spine. Had she crossed a line into a world unknown to her? "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. The man stepped closer, his face finally coming into view. A mix of recognition and confusion flooded her. "We need to talk about your father." A rush of emotions overwhelmed her, twisting into something dark and unyielding. This was the moment she had been anticipating, yet it felt like an avalanche barreling down on her. She glanced at Jonathan and Mark, their expressions mirrored her own uncertainty. But there was no turning back. They were already in the depths of darkness, time to uncover the light hidden within, and as she stepped forward, the weight of the moment flooded over her. What if this revelation would change everything she thought she knew about her family and herself? The air thickened with anticipation, she could feel it shift. "Let us hear what he has to say," she said, determination rising within her as she faced the stranger. The man's gaze hardened, and a flicker of recognition passed between them as he opened his mouth to speak. The truth hung in the balance, ready to tip the scales of everything she believed. And as he began to unravel the layers of her father's past, Annie felt her world pivoting. Would she be ready for the truth? Would it take her to a place she could never come back from? "Your father wasn't he who you thought he was," the man said, his voice barely above a whisper yet heavy with a weight that shifted the air around them. Annie's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" she demanded, feeling a mix of fear and disbelief tighten her throat. The man took a slow breath, his eyes narrowing as if searching for the right words. "He was part of something big, something dangerous. You've been kept in the dark for your own protection." Protection? The word slipped from her lips, incredulity washing over her. From what? The tension in the room grew palpable, the air thickening. Mark shifted uneasily, glancing at Jonathan, who was standing resolutely beside Annie. The stranger's expression hardened further. "People who knew your father well still seek to bury the secrets he left behind. Secrets that could destroy everything you believed about him." Annie felt as if someone had punched the wind from her lungs. Memories of her father, the kind man who read her bedtime stories and taught her how to ride a bike, flashed through her mind, now tinted with suspicion. "No, not my dad. He was good. He wouldn't hurt anyone." "Good or evil isn't always black and white," he replied, his tone softening slightly. "Perhaps he was trying to keep you safe from truths that could shatter your world. But some things can't be hidden forever." Annie's knees felt weak as the realization enveloped her. "What kinds of truths?" With a slight nod, the man seemed to gather himself, stepping closer. "Your father was involved in a web of secrets that extended far beyond anything you can imagine. He was part of a covert organization, a family business steeped in corruption and power. Stop. She held up her hand, a desperate plea. This can't be real. You're lying. Jonathan shifted closer, his warmth a steady presence. Annie let him speak, Mark interrupted, his voice calm and measured. She turned to them, desperate eyes searching for support against what was unfolding. Unsure. Conflicted. What if this is a mistake? The man leaned in, his voice steady. I know this is hard to grasp, but what I'm telling you is true. You need to understand the legacy your father left you. It's not just history, it's alive and still unfolding. What is the legacy? She asked, courage rising amidst her vulnerability. Access to power. Wealth. But also danger. You could be the key to something immense if you wish to embrace it. But be warned, there are those who will not stop until they retrieve what was lost. Anxiety buzzed in her bones, a cold pit growing in her stomach. Lost. What was lost? His eyes locked onto hers, intensity flaring as he stepped even closer. The truth about your father's greatest mistake and what it means for you. Silence fell, her heartbeat pulsing in her ears. Jonathan's grip tightened around her hand, anchoring her in this moment that felt surreal, as if the room might crack open and swallow her whole. What am I supposed to do? Annie whispered, emotion choking her. For a split second, uncertainty flickered across his face. Then he glanced toward the door. You need to decide quickly. There's still time to reclaim your life before the past catches up. The air shifted, tinged with a mixture of fear and hope. The confrontation between them wasn't simply about her father, it was about destiny. Will you take a leap of faith? He asked, his voice enigmatic. Leap into what? She replied, uncertainty brewing in the pit of her stomach. Into the unknown. Are you ready to embrace the truth, no matter what it uncovers? The moment hung in the air, thick with tension. Annie felt her heart pounding wildly, the anticipation drawing her forward. Could she stand strong against whatever lay ahead? As she looked into the depths of the man's eyes, Annie felt the pull of the past and the whisper of a secret future collide within her. And before she could answer, a sound shattered the quiet, the echo of footsteps approaching from outside. Someone's coming. Mark warned, urgency slamming into the moment. The stranger turned towards the door, his expression hardened again. We don't have much time. You need to decide now. Annie's pulse raced. With the future teetering on the brink, was she ready to leap into a world soaked in danger and revelation? And what truths awaited her beyond the mill's foreboding walls? Annie's heart raced as she stood at the crossroads of her past and the unknown future. The footsteps echoed louder, slicing through the tension thickening the air around them. The man's intense gaze locked onto hers, his urgency igniting a fire within her core. This was it, the moment of reckoning. Are you ready to embrace the truth? He pressed, his voice unwavering despite the dread looming nearby. Annie hesitated. Her father's reputation, the memories of laughter and love, collided with the chaotic revelations spinning through her mind. The fight for justice for her family, the longing for answers urged her forward. Yes, she declared, voice steady, filled with a strength she didn't know she possessed. I'm ready. A flash of relief crossed the stranger's face before he stepped back into the shadows, allowing her to breathe in her decision. Then follow me. But stay close. We can't allow anyone to see this. Jonathan and Mark exchanged worried glances, yet determination simmered beneath their concern. We're in this together, Mark affirmed, tightening his grip around Annie's hand. Their unyielding support acted as a buoy against the tide of uncertainty. As they navigated deeper into the mill, the tension sharpened into clarity. Each step felt like a leap into the abyss, the past intertwining with the threads of the present. The shadows whispered secrets of generations long forgotten, increasing the pulse of urgency in Annie's heart. Suddenly, the door creaked open, unveiling an expansive, dark room. It was lined with dusty shelves, filled with forgotten artifacts of time. Machinery loomed like ancient sentinels, the air was thick with the scent of decades gone by. Here's where the truth lies, the stranger murmured, leading them to a table covered in blueprints and old documents. He hesitated, an unreadable expression crossing his face. I can't show you everything, he admitted, but you have to know the legacy is more than what you've been told. It's dangerous and powerful. Annie's eyes scanned the documents, her heart pounding as she read the scrawled notes. Each word revealed murky ties to corruption, family secrets that threatened to unravel everything she had anchored her life to. She couldn't shake the feel of betrayal lingering like a bitter aftertaste. What does this all mean? How can I fight against this? She asked, desperation lacing her voice. My father would never have wanted this. Your father tried to protect you. But power can be all-consuming, even the best intentions can lead to dark paths, he replied, sincerity etched into his features. You must choose which path you want to take. The air buzzed with anticipation, the footsteps outside were growing louder. Time was running out. Suddenly, the door burst open, and in stepped figures clad in dark jackets, the grim expressions plastered on their faces sending a chill through Annie. Panic surged, but the stranger remained calm, stepping slightly in front of Annie, a shield against the approaching menaces. Don't let them see you. Keep your head down, he shouted, his voice barely a whisper yet carrying the weight of urgency. Annie's heart thundered in her chest. Mark and Jonathan positioned themselves behind her, a united front against the tide of uncertainty. In that moment, she realized that this journey wasn't just about her father, it was about family, loyalty, and the bonds that hold people together even amidst chaos. Go. The stranger commanded, signaling for her to find cover behind a pile of crates. They moved swiftly, adrenaline flooding their veins as they ducked into the shadows. Annie's breaths came in ragged gasps, her mind racing. What awaited her beyond this moment? The figures moved through the vast room, muttering in low, menacing voices. They ransacked the table, flipping through the documents, the atmosphere thickening with looming danger. Annie. Jonathan hissed, barely loud enough for her to hear over the heavy silence. We have to get out. With her heart racing, determination surged inside her. They were tangled in a web of choices, and stepping up was the only way forward. They couldn't turn back now. Grabbing Mark and Jonathan's hands, she whispered, we're getting out. Together. With that, they darted toward the exit, the threat of discovery looming over them like a cloud. Each step echoed in harmony with her heartbeat, a rhythm of defiance against fear. Together, they emerged from the shadows, fueled by hope and determination. In the dim light of the outside world, Annie felt the weight of possibility resting in her chest. This was just the beginning. The truth would unfold, and justice for her father would become her mission. We're going to uncover everything, she vowed as they pulled away from the mill, the danger fading behind them. No matter what it takes. And as they drove off into the uncertain dawn, a new resolve lit up her spirit. The secrets of the past might have threatened to drown her, but Annie was ready to rise. They were a family, armed with courage and fueled by love. Nothing could hold them back now. As they stepped into the light, Annie felt lighter than air. And she swore to herself that she would unearth every truth about her father. Together, they would forge a new legacy, a legacy built on love, resilience, and unwavering strength. Now, as the sun broke through the last remnants of twilight, Annie turned to Mark and Jonathan, sharing radiant smiles of hope. Are you ready? She asked, and their answers flashed in their eyes. An unbreakable bond solidified not just in the shadows of doubt, but in the shared light of their journey. Let us do this, Mark affirmed, as they drove toward the future. It was time to reclaim not just her father's legacy, but to redefine the lives that lay ahead, intertwined, forever wrapped in discovery, healing, and the transformative power of love. Don't let this story end here. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive stories that will leave you breathless. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make sure others see this incredible transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know they can also find hope in their darkest moment.